Welcome to a 1v1 on Kholodny Ferma Summer.
Rifle squad ready
This
for
game
action.
is going to be Jihadi Goku playing as OKW, and he's already picked Scavenge Doctrine on the east side, versus Mike Ratty playing as US Forces, and he's already picked Mechanized Company. So both of these players knew exactly what they wanted to do. Pick their commander, and they're going to try and use them to the fullest possible extent now. Mike Ratty going with the double rifleman into WC51 build from the look of things, I think.
Truck
Yes,
ready for
okay.
action. Crew ready.
Rear echelon troops making their way towards the north to get the fuel under control. Riflemen taking control of this strategic point, and the 2nd Rifle Squad loading up into the WC-51 here.
God damn it! Someone get us out of here! That's it. Point's ours.
And making his way towards this area.
We can now dispatch WC-51 trucks.
WC-51 will encounter a slightly overly aggressive SWS half-track here. This could be a really bad opening engagement. Oh no, it just got stuck on the strategic point. Oh, it is guaranteed dead. There will be no survival for this SWS. What a huge blow. And that's what happens. That's what happens. If you go mechanized and you can get a huge win like that early, you will find yourself off to a great start. No battle group headquarters or mechanized for the next 3 minutes or whatever for Jihadi Goku, and he's probably going to be pressured into getting himself a few extra low tier units. Not that he wouldn't do that anyway.
Where do you want us?
And a Rakettenwerfer is in production now, which is a pretty logical thing to do against the WC-51. If you can land one good shot on it, you're pretty much guaranteed to take it out. WC-51 continues to circle around and look for opportunities to herd squads back into the OKW base and secure map control for the US forces. The riflemen are sticking around for a long time in this engagement. It looked like they were losing it there briefly, but at that range they managed to pull ahead and force retreat from that Volksgrenadier squad before the WC-51 even arrived, and now it's going to be able to chase them back to base. I'm not sure if they're going to make it or not. Okay, they're definitely not. Maybe. Okay, no, they are not going to make it.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points. Get guns on our flanks!
Stern Pioneers taking up a position inside this building. Riflemen making their way up to engage at short range against these Volksgrenadiers, which aren't even in the capture circle. At this range, those Volksgrenadiers will be forced to retreat. I'm not sure he was even monitoring that engagement. So far, this WC-51 is off to a great start, having wiped one squad, destroyed the SWS half-track, and secured excellent map control for the OKW very early in the game. The next half-track will be arriving within the next minute, I think, 49 seconds. And once it does, Jihadi Goku may choose to go mechanized to counter mechanized. Since the Puma and Flak half-track both counter pretty much everything this commander has to offer, as far as call-in units. But battle group headquarters certainly wouldn't be terrible either. Rakettenwerfer in the church will screen against this WC-51's advance, create a pretty wide zone of protection here in the middle. WC-51 takes a very wide path over here to the left. And Volksgrenadiers will be forced to retreat all the way back to base.
Supply half-track is ready for orders.
Gather round. I smell orders. Area secured. That was too easy.
SWS has made its way out of the spawn and is going to set up. If it sets up in too aggressive a location, it could be vulnerable to getting destroyed by this WC-51 again, which would be disastrous to say the least. Meanwhile, the U.S. Forces player has purchased a lieutenant and M20 is in production. If he sees this setting up, that could be GG, but fortunately he's currently tied up in capturing these sectors. Still, that is an incredibly risky play. The Kholodny isn't even really that nearby to support, although it's on its way now. And it looks like... Ooh. That mine just explode and kill nothing? Yes. It looks like that battle group headquarters will complete. The proper amount of support is now on its way. The American player doesn't show any signs of scouting in this area. That's one of the important things to be mindful of, by the way. As Americans, when you've gone mechanized, you have to be very mindful of these construction timings and make sure to push when that thing's going to be right about to construct or under construction, because you'll never have a more beautiful window of opportunity to push than when one of these things is building. It is the OKW's most vulnerable moment, by far. Kholodny gets wiped. Volksgrenadier squad also gets wiped. Pretty solid engagement for the American player so far. Despite losing his WC-51, he does take out a full squad and bleed a very healthy amount of manpower. Could see another squad get wiped here. There it goes. 2 Volksgrenadier squads wiped. Massive losses being inflicted by this M20 here. Is he just gonna let these pioneers die? Okay.
Forward elements report an infantry unit lost.
Stern pioneers just got wiped. M20 has taken significant damage from small arms fire though, and will actually be destroyed just with small arms. It didn't take a single bit of damage from Kholodny or Panzerschreck shot or anything like that, but it's still, despite getting destroyed during that engagement, was incredibly valuable to the U.S. Forces player, wiping out everything.
Taking fire! Jaeger, defensive formation! I want fire superiority! Pour it on!
AA half-track is in production now. Unfortunately, the WC-51 and M20 have both been destroyed, so we can't take advantage of the withdraw and refit ability. That would be a nice thing to be able to utilize once he felt that those vehicles were no longer relevant in combat, but unfortunately that's not an option available to him. His manpower is actually pretty low too, because the M20 is 340 manpower, the WC-51 was 240, so those do represent significant losses on his part. Not as significant as what his opponent has lost, which is almost everything. With Kholodny will get recruited here, back up to 2 squads of Volksgrenadiers, but he's definitely feeling the pain of having no Sturms. And once this big blob of infantry charges straight towards this position, I don't know if there's gonna be anything to stop it, especially with AA half-track support. Infiltration grenades could shut down this blob. Not really. These 2 squads get suppressed by the autocannon / machine guns or whatever on the AA half-track. We could see the first squad wipe here from this squad of Volksgrenadiers. Now, although they are somehow managing to out-reinforce the damage, and 1 squad of riflemen is forced to retreat. The lieutenant will be next because these Jaegers are not getting suppressed. Ooh, whoa. The lieutenant had 2 men and then just instantly died. I don't even know what happened right there. AA half-track getting a little too bold here. This Panzerschreck will be able to fire soon. He's trying to rotate targets, and it works maybe? Oh! Full squad of Volksgrenadiers wiped. This one is pinned. There's no retreat point unlocked here, so I think the engagement has gone to the American. That was kind of scary, but pulled ahead by a sliver. Okay. Not sure what the objective was there. But that SWS half-track is dead, and the Overcommand OS player is now down to basically nothing remaining, and he just fielded an Ostwind. Interesting choice. I don't know what I think about this. It's kind of a desperation purchase. On the one hand, it will easily counter everything the US Forces player has fielded. Man, the victory points, or the command points are so high. It'll counter everything the US Forces has fielded. But the US Forces' natural response to that is going to be a Sherman, which will easily be able to shut that down, and it doesn't have very much support. Major being purchased now, and again, can't use the refundability because the half-track is immediately cleared off the field, and Ostwind has a pretty dramatic impact, killing the AA half-track immediately, and almost wiping that squad, but it has some pathing issues.
A capture point is being overrun.
I wonder if this Ostwind is going to drive straight into the American base. If it does, nothing can stop it right now. Not for some time. Infantry squads desperately getting some territory back under control while the Ostwind drives straight into the American base. I wonder how quickly an Ostwind can destroy this structure. Probably not fast enough to prevent a Sherman from hitting the field, but that would be interesting to see attempted. Looks like he would rather try and hunt and kill infantry though. Starting over here.
Promotions in! A capture point is under attack. Our supply line just got cut off. We're losing a capture point. Enemy armor's chewing us up!
Ostwind is just bullying the US Forces player into his base, and the tide of the battle has completely turned. It would seem that the Ostwind was a good choice.
We're taking lead over here! Orders complete!
He's not being that aggressive with it though, just kind of skirting around, not doing anything too crazy. Looks like he's going to rotate back towards the north to deal with these rifle squads that are pushing his Jaegers off the map, and his Volksgrenadiers. Squad of Jaegers here in the south getting some territories under control as well, and the cutoff will be restored by this fresh squad of Volksgrenadiers, also upgraded with a Panzerschreck. This has been a really weird game. Just goes to show what a dramatic impact one unit can have. Just one unit. The whole game has changed. And it's not even like a King Tiger either, it's just this Ostwind. That's something you really only see in 1v1s. There goes that squad. He's actually researching bazookas, which is a 15 fuel setback from his Sherman, and with only 10 fuel now coming in, that is extremely significant. That's a minute and a half of his fuel. He's going to have to make sure that he gets some good value out of those bazookas, and he might. That Ostwind has a damaged engine and its rear armor exposed. And again, he was only able to afford one bazooka on his Major. Oh, don't let this get wiped! No! Okay, well, so much for that purchase. The American player has been reduced to only 2 squads of riflemen and these rear echelon troops.
God damn it! Someone get us out of here! We lost an infantry unit. They got wiped out.
Well, this is an awkward situation for the US player to be in. He does not hold any territory, has no units, 700 manpower, but not really a great way to spend it. He's clearly waiting for the Sherman rather than spending any of his fuel on a captain.
Reinforcements in.
Gonna field himself some fresh squads of riflemen, keep his manpower low.
Stick with me and you might just make it.
Have 3 squads of riflemen available to support his rear echelon troops
Point is under
when his
attack.
Sherman arrives.
Rifle squad ready for action.
This is so incredibly unusual, by the way, that of Ostwind, an 8 command point vehicle, would hit the field before the Sherman, when a Sherman is usually rolling onto the field like 2 to 3 command points. Which just goes to show how incredibly lethal the engagements around this battlegroup headquarters were. And it can really change the dynamic of the game when you have just an extraordinarily lethal early game and the command points just skyrocket up super fast, and then suddenly there's a OKW Ostwind on the field at like the 10-minute mark and you're just not ready for it. It's kind of interesting. Still, once that Sherman comes out, OKW won't have that much of a counter. Raketen Warfare and 2 Shreks is enough to keep it from winning the game single-handedly. There's no tank coming, and the 100 fuel setback that this Ostwind represents could just die in like 5 Sherman shots or whatever it is, so I don't know.
Our supply line just got cut off.
Now that new rifle squads are on the field, he's spreading them out and trying to get some territory back under his control. The Ostwind is off the field, receiving repairs way in the back, and of course he had to field a fresh squad of Stern Pioneers just to be able to repair it at all. And he's going to spend the rest of the fuel he's collected on this Jagdpanzer. Once that Jagdpanzer hits the field, that Sherman's not going to be able to do much without being very carefully maneuvered. He's going to have to be very, very careful with how he uses that Sherman, and his window of opportunity with this thing is already gone, really. He's not going to have any time where that Sherman has total and utter field dominance, although that Ostwind is way out of position. Look at that, and it's doing a turn! Not that I don't think that actually matters. I'm pretty sure the Sherman would penetrate its frontal armor on every shot, but I think this Ostwind might go down. That Sherman needs to chase as aggressively as possible. Just missed one of its critical shots. Raketen Warfare has not set up in time. Jagdpanzer is just about to complete. Yeah, oh no! Sherman just missed twice in a row! The Ostwind is actually winning! Ostwind shots are damaging the Sherman. Raketen Warfare turns, trying to support, and the Sherman will disengage because it just doesn't have that much of a choice. He didn't want to lose that tank, couldn't afford to, but look how close he is to destroying it. If he had just killed it. Oh, he could circle around the south and kill it. He needs to kill it. He's not going to have that window again. There's a Jagdpanzer on the field now. He obviously doesn't know that. That is painful. Painful to witness. Ostwind pulling back and will receive repairs from the Stern Pioneer squad now. And the victory point clock has been slowed by rear echelon troops here in the south, getting that under control. Probably going to be forced to retreat by Jaegers, moving to get some territory under control themselves. Volksgrenadier support, getting some territory back up here. Unopposed, there's no Commando West units in the north. And that squad of riflemen should be able to get some territory back.
Capture point is being overrun.
Ostwind making its way towards the left. Sherman just caught that Jagdpanzer horribly out of position again. The Sherman's positioning this game has been perfect. It just shows up at the worst imaginable time for everything that it is fighting against. Uh-oh, if he gets in rifle grenade range. Nope, couldn't quite close the distance. This is one of the few times where reversing towards your enemy matters when fighting an Ostwind. Ostwind can reliably penetrate the rear armor of a Sherman, so it's somewhat important to keep your front face toward that Ostwind. It doesn't really matter against Panzer Shreks or Jagdpanzer, they'll penetrate you every time, but against an Ostwind it does matter. Ostwind does pretty significant damage to a Sherman, especially if the Sherman misses 6 shots in a row.
Enemy infantry, counter assault!
Riflemen moving to take some territory up here in the north. Victory point gets taken here by U.S. troops in the center, and the Sherman continues to simply screen and protect. It can't be aggressive because there's Jagdpanzer, 2 Panzerschrecks for Kettenwerfer. If it tries to go way too deep, certainly would not end well. The only silver lining here is that the purchase of Ostwind and Jagdpanzer has massively delayed Tier 4. There's no Panzerschwer headquarters anywhere denying territory. There's no Obers hitting the field. There's no Panther coming. So the fact that there are no Tier... What is that Ostwind doing? Cannot be serious. That is suicide. There's a Sherman on the field.
Enemies are swarming one of our emplacements.
Okay. Well, that's a dead Ostwind. I don't see how it could possibly get out of this situation. Oh, he was dropping scavenge artillery on base. That doesn't even work anymore, and that doesn't do, like, anything. That was such a waste. Main gun destroyed! Although the Jagdpanzer just blocked his retreat. I think the Sherman may be forced to utilize smoke to get out of this situation alive, if that's even possible. He does maneuver around this, through here, these hedges. Oh, wow! I thought that Volksgrenadier squad was gonna kill him for sure. Did you see that crush? Where did the corpses all go? They went flying. They just like rocketed across the screen. That might have been the best crush I've ever seen. And that is the Vet 2 maneuverability bonus that Sherman gets too. It had that little bit of extra speed. Oh my god, that Sherman is the mechanism with which the U.S. force is coming back into this game. Jagdpanzer's out for revenge though. He just dropped scavenge artillery again. It's not likely going to hit anything here. Might snag the lieutenant as he tries to get a clear barrage radius. Falling on the base again. Dropping it twice almost destroys like one structure. Not really. That's really not worth doing. It used to be like broken, overpowered, and now it's just like a kind of decent artillery barrage. Maybe a little overpriced. I don't know. I don't see it used that frequently. The radius is so big that you don't really reliably hit anything, but you can force a bunch of team whip. You can disrupt like a big defensive like wall of Zis guns or something with that. But yeah, bombing the U.S. base doesn't really accomplish all that much. Kind of just threw almost 400 munitions away, honestly. Which isn't really a luxury you have when you've only got one Panzerschreck. I guess he's just going to be relying on this Jagdpanzer for anti-tank now.
Lousy patch of dirt is ours.
Under fire!
Sherman's been fully repaired, and now that it's Speedy Gonzalez, it will be an even better counter-harassment tool, forcing squads to retreat. With ease, potentially wiping them as well. The Jagdpanzer's making its way over here to engage. Has to move through the smoke, but should be sufficient to scare that Sherman away. And off it goes. And now that Tier 4 has been constructed, he will have access to Oversoldot. It's a pretty late Tier 4, 25 minutes into the game, but his map control has been so good, holding both fuel points for the majority of the game, that his Panther isn't even that late, even though he's purchased an Ostwind and a Jagdpanzer. That's as good as map control has been, is that he has managed to get an Ostwind and Jagdpanzer, and his Panther will still be coming out at around the same time as the second Sherman. So American really needs to turn that map control situation around, or he's just going to be screwed. Sherman getting a little overly aggressive against this Jagdpanzer. The Vet 2 mobility boost definitely helps it on the flank here, but it has to expose its rear armor to the Tier 4 structure, and it could potentially be destroyed. That being said, Jagdpanzer's just spinning around in circles here. Oh no! Oh, Jagdpanzer shot missed by a hair. That was terrifying. Thought that Sherman was dead for sure. Engagement over here not going well for Riflemen. They'll be forced to retreat by some Sturm Pioneers, which are taking control of the entire south. The Sherman almost managed to take out that Jagdpanzer, and its window of opportunity to do so solo is closing rapidly. Once that Panther hits the field, it's going to be way harder to circle strafe a Jagdpanzer to death. You can't catch it out of position. But he does have a freshly produced Sherman on the field. If he can locate that Jagdpanzer, he could destroy it, but it's nowhere near where it was before. I don't know how he would locate it. I just heard a mine go off on something. Oh, there's rear echelons to the mine. No big deal. Just trying to find the damaged Jagdpanzer with the Sherman. Finding the Sturm Pioneers is almost just as good, though. I think he might have spotted them over here. Wiping those denies your opponent the ability to repair that extremely damaged Jagdpanzer, so that's almost more important. It's not more important than destroying the Jagdpanzer, but it's just as good, honestly. They exposed themselves to capture this point, and he probably should have sent the fresh Sherman to go and try and wipe them on retreat, but now they'll have a free pass to make their way back to the behind the front line, and they should be able to safely repair that Jagdpanzer now. Vet 2 Sherman has been repaired and is making its way back over towards the north. A squad of Jaegers is about to get pushed away by that lieutenant with Sherman, double Sherman support, in fact. And Shermans will not take long to destroy an exposed structure like this, if allowed to do so. Jagdpanzer will still need to await repairs, but a Panther should, now that it's on the field, should be able to move up and counter if they decide to make a big push against that structure. But it looks like these tanks would rather continue to simply fight for map control. Moving to counter here in the center, and he's got one of them equipped with high explosive rounds, the other equipped with armor piercing, so that he kind of has both of those available to him should the need arise. Having one on each is still pretty effective against infantry, since armor piercing rounds have a tendency to do pretty okay versus infantry. High explosive rounds are like amazing versus infantry, but if you can get good hits, you can get good hits. He didn't have the munitions for an anti-tank grenade on... Oh no! His vetted Sherman just got abandoned and he no longer has that vet bonus at his disposal. He doesn't really have much of a way to counter this Panther right now, and with the Jagdpanzer moving up, I think this could be the game. All of his tanks are getting destroyed. Another Sherman is being queued up. Meanwhile, artillery is being dropped on the US base again. What? This Sherman is literally doing figure eights around these Axis tanks. No way. Ah. No, it was not meant to be. And no rifle grenades on the rear of that Panther either, and it looks like it's going to get away. I really almost thought that Sherman was about to destroy a Panther right there, but apparently not. Fuel cache is taking damage over here. We do have Obersoldaten forcing away a lieutenant there. Rear echelons are trying to get the victory points under control here. I don't know. That Panther really needs to get out of there, though. It should not just be sticking around with almost no health remaining. A Sherman is in production. If it were to receive engine damage, a Sherman could easily destroy it, especially considering how exposed it is right now.
Tank support is here. Sherman ready.
Sherman is on the field, making its way forward to try and deal with some of these fuel caches. And the American player made a bit of a gamble by investing so much in fuel caches when he had already lost so many full squads. His army is just so small. That being said, he's 40,000 manpower. He really needs to make more stuff. He could field one of these things, I guess, if he wanted. I don't know. He does manage to damage the engine of the Jagdpanzer, and the Panther is receiving repairs way over here in the base. I don't see anything on its way to save this Jagdpanzer, and it's going to die just because it wanted to take out a fuel cache. A Sherman just drove right up and killed this thing. What a senseless loss by the OKW player. He didn't even move his Panther to go support. He easily could have won that engagement, even at half health. Jaegers have recovered a Panzerschreck here in the middle. Don't worry, Mike Ratty, I have the exact same problem. I am not called Float Me-O for nothing.
We're getting blasted over here!
Although, 1250 manpower is pushing it even for me.
Stick with me and you might just make it.
My personal suggestion in this situation, if you're floating manpower a little bit, is to get yourself a late game M20. Try and plant a mine. You can snag that Panther with an M20 mine. It's a pretty easy kill afterward. And it's 340 manpower to sink into that light vehicle. And of course, it never hurts to get some late game rear echelon troops, just if you just literally just for capping power and nothing else. Riflemen, if you feel that you need riflemen. And hopefully your map control will be good enough that you can spend the rest on tanks. If not, then you may be forced to get team weapons. And nobody wants to have to get US versus team weapons, that's just the worst. Apparently those rear echelon troops are doing their job of sweeping up mines. They don't have a minesweeper, but they're getting it done either way. Sweep up 2 mines before being gunned down.
Our supply line just got cut off.
Guys were heroes. 3 squads moving across the north to get some more territory under control. The victory point bleed continues to be pretty significant here.
Ready for orders.
US player only ever really seeming to be able to hold on to 1 victory point at a time. Meanwhile, Sherman is trying to dodge the Panther for now.
One of our capture points.
God damn it! Someone get us out of here! Are you serious? Boy, we just got promoted!
Our capture point is being overrun.
Panther just goes straight for that Sherman as soon as it reveals itself. It also has Vet 1 now, giving it access to Blitzkrieg, although I don't know why it's maneuvering this way. It's kind of weird. If your opponent is using his Panther like this, all willy-nilly, just going super crazy aggressive without minesweeper support, you should feel absolutely free to get an M20 and punish that with a mine. Sherman now has a damaged engine, or the Panther has a damaged engine. Sherman is circling around behind it. I cannot believe what I am witnessing right now. Is a Panther going to go down to this Sherman?
We got 75 points remaining.
I can't tell. I don't know which one's going to fire next. Oh, the Sherman takes it. The Sherman takes it and the Panther is destroyed. It goes down to almost pure laziness. Why wouldn't he rotate it? It was just sitting there. Oh my goodness. I can't believe the OKW player is letting this game slip through his fingers. He's getting a little cocky, I think. I think he just assumed that he had the game in the bag. And he's just like, oh, I'm just going to leave my Panther over there. It's got it. It's got that engagement. I don't even need to watch.
Tank support is here. Sherman ready.
I mean, he does have a 150 victory point lead. It's going to be difficult for the US player to win against just this infantry force, let alone the Panther that's in production and on its way. It's going to be very tough, but it's possible. And the sloppy mistakes by the Oberkommando West at this point are making this game possible for the US Forces player, and it's his job to try and capitalize on these opportunities. But good God, spend your resources. 1,400. That's just so much. That's too much. Make anything. Even rear echelon troops would be better than nothing, just for capping power. You clearly need capping power. You don't own any territory.
Swing the gun. They're on the flank.
I mean, rear echelon troops are what you buy late game when you need capping power if you don't have a lot of manpower to spare.
Consolidate our forces.
Riflemen would be fine.
50 points.
There's no shame in getting like 6 squads of riflemen as mechanized. There's really not. When you're airborne, you get 3 squads of riflemen and then like 2 squads of paratroopers. Why not just get 5 squads of riflemen as mechanized? You don't really have a whole lot of other options, honestly.
Lousy patch of dirt is ours. Taking fire!
That shoe mine has been miraculously dodged so far. I'm just waiting for that to blow something up. Squad in Raketenwerfer, I think, in the church just got wiped. Panther trying to contend with the lieutenant here in the south, which just exposed its rear armor to Sherman's again, and he's still not doing anything to change that situation. He needs to face his frontal armor towards the Shermans. Oh my god, is this really happening? Wow. See? Look how good that frontal armor is. Suddenly Shermans can't do anything. 4 shots can barely scrape off a little chunk of the Panther's health.
God damn it! Someone get us out of here!
I mean, Panthers are strong, but the rules of directional armor still apply to them. Not IS-2s.
Bring the gun round!
And there goes that full squad, and the American player has secured all 3 victory points, destroyed the Panther, and honestly, I think brought this game completely back under his control, especially if this happens. Oh no.
They're trying to outflank us.
I think that retreat was a little premature. I don't think that was really necessary. He threw 1 scavenge grenade. The last 2 Panzerschrecks in the entire German army are trying to fight off this Sherman over here. This squad has a Panzerschreck, but the guy holding it died. And since he has like a special sniper rifle or whatever, he can't equip the Panzerschreck.
What the hell am I meant to do with these effects?
Making it kind of dangerous to put a Panzerschreck on Jaegers, I guess. See, there it is, popped right back out. American player continues to mass forces, decided that he felt like spending a tiny fraction of his manpower on 2 rifleman squads and an ambulance.
Under fire from a Panzerschreck.
Volksgrenadier catches the Vet 2 Sherman repairing. Simply gonna go for the crush. And he looks like he's going to be pretty successful. Armor-piercing rounds connecting pretty nicely. There's not really any need for him to switch at this point. Oh. Wow, the game just ended. And the Over Commando West player surrendered. Wow. Well, I have to say, this game is in the bag for like both players 3 separate times. I mean, we've seen back and forth games of Company of Heroes before, but this one was like, man, they were just throwing Hail Mary passes at each other the entire game. That was a very swingy game of COH2. Good game. Allies win.